I made my own life-size crucifix because I was so moved by this mini-series about Jesus of Nazareth when I was around 11 or 12. I restaged it, adding a crown of thorns, painting blood, and putting my hand through a hammered nail. Other than wanting to establish that incredibly personal, yet terrible connection with Jesus, I am unable to articulate why I did it. It turned into a foreshadowing of what would occur some 30 years later. Jonathan Rumi's journey as Jesus in The Chosen has always been personal, but for Season 6 that connection has turned into something far more painful than anyone expected. In a recent interview, Jonathan admitted something shocking. He felt like he didn't want to do it. Not because he doubted the story, not because he didn't care, but because the emotional and physical weight of portraying the crucifixion was too overwhelming. He described it as a point of breaking a moment where everything in him screamed that this role was too big, too sacred, and too painful, and yet he kept going. Why? Because he believes this story matters more than his comfort. But the toll it's taking is undeniable. This isn't just another scene. This is the crucifixion of Jesus. And Jonathan knows that millions of people around the world will be watching him, expecting to feel the pain, the love, the sacrifice. That pressure alone could crush anyone. But what makes it worse is Jonathan's own connection to this moment. When he was just 11 or 12 years old, long before The Chosen even existed, he built his own life-sized crucifix in his backyard. He hammered in nails. He made a crown of thorns. He painted blood on the wood. And he did it all because something deep inside him wanted to understand what Jesus went through. Now, over 30 years later, that childhood act feels like a prophecy, because now he has to live it again, on camera under lights surrounded by crew, but feeling every inch of the pain he imagined as a child. Jonathan has been open about how difficult it's been to film the final chapters of Jesus' life. During Season 5, he already struggled while shooting The Last Supper and the agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. He called that season the hardest one yet. But now, he says Season 6 is going to be even worse. Not because the scenes are technically harder, but because this is the end. This is the cross. This is the moment where Jesus is betrayed, beaten, mocked, and finally nailed to wood, and Jonathan has to carry all of that on his own body and soul. He's already begun losing weight to make his physical appearance more believable. He joked in one interview that he's pre-emotional eating, trying to brace himself for what's coming. But the truth is, behind the humor, he's dreading it. And he's not alone in feeling the weight of this season. Director Dallas Jenkins, who has stood by Jonathan through every emotional breakdown and breakthrough, knows what's coming. He was the one who first helped Jonathan through his crisis in Season 1, when Jonathan doubted whether he was worthy of playing Jesus. Dallas simply told him, "None of us is truly worthy. We're doing this so the world knows his story." That moment gave Jonathan the strength to keep going. But now with the crucifixion ahead, the fear is back. The doubts are louder. And even with Dallas cracking jokes to lighten the mood, Jonathan admits he's barely holding it together. He knows that what's coming will not only break him, but it will break the audience too. People who've watched The Chosen from the beginning, who've cried through the miracles and the sermons, are about to see their Savior suffer in the most brutal way. And Jonathan has to carry all that emotion, yours, mine, and his, on his shoulders. That's not acting anymore. That's a kind of sacrifice we don't often see on screen, and it's already leaving scars. For Jonathan Rumi, playing Jesus has never just been a job. From the very beginning, it's been a spiritual responsibility, one that he never truly felt worthy of carrying. And now, in the most sacred and painful chapter of Jesus' story, Jonathan is being asked to go deeper than ever before. In preparation for the crucifixion scene, he's not just memorizing lines or blocking out movements on set. He's walking through a spiritual fire. The kind of preparation this role demands isn't just about the physical transformation, although that's intense on its own. Jonathan has already started dropping weight, changing his diet, and adjusting his body to reflect what Jesus would have looked like after days of torture. But what's even more grueling is the emotional and spiritual weight pressing down on him every single day. This isn't just about looking the part. It's about becoming the vessel through which one of the most sacred moments in all of history is told. And that realization is crushing him. He's admitted it publicly. He said there are moments where he feels like he just can't do it, moments where the magnitude of this task becomes too much, where the burden of representing the Son of God in his darkest hour makes him want to walk away. He's asked for prayers, not casually, but desperately. When Jonathan asks for prayer, it's because he feels like he's about to collapse under the weight of this calling. And honestly, who could blame him? Imagine being asked to portray the very moment when Jesus takes on the sins of the world. Imagine knowing that your performance will shape how millions of people experience that moment. That's not just pressure. That's spiritual warfare. Jonathan is not just fighting fatigue. He's battling doubt, fear, and emotional exhaustion. And yet, despite all of that, he's still showing up. He's still preparing, because he believes the story is worth the cost. Behind the scenes, those closest to him have seen the toll this season is taking. Dallas Jenkins, the director and creator of The Chosen, has been a steady presence in Jonathan's life throughout this journey. And during these final chapters, Dallas isn't just a director. He's become a spiritual brother, a counselor, and a friend who reminds Jonathan why he started this journey in the first place. On set, there's often laughter between scenes. The cast and crew try to keep things light. But when it comes to these final episodes, Jonathan has had to pull back. He said he can't joke around as much. He can't just snap out of it between takes. Because when you're preparing to carry the cross, you're not just pretending. You're entering into that pain. And sometimes the only way to survive it is to stay in that sacred space quiet and reverent until the director calls cut. Even before he joined The Chosen, Jonathan had a history of playing biblical roles. He's been part of 4 different Bible-based projects, and he even played a role in a short film called The Two Thieves, which was directed by none other than Dallas Jenkins. In that film, Jonathan wasn't portraying Jesus, but he was still part of a crucifixion scene. That experience in some strange and spiritual way seems to have prepared him for what he's facing now. It's as if every project, every role, every step in his career has been leading to this one moment. And maybe that's why it's so heavy. Because deep down, Jonathan knows this is what he was made for. This is the culmination of his calling, but knowing that doesn't make it easier. He's talked about his childhood, about how as a young boy he was so moved by the story of Jesus that he built his own crucifix in his backyard. He wasn't doing it for fun. He wasn't trying to shock anyone. He was trying to understand the pain, the love, the sacrifice. Even then, something inside him wanted to connect to Jesus on the most intimate level. And now that same boy has grown into a man who must relive that pain in front of cameras under lights while the whole world watches. The difference is this time it's not just for understanding, it's for the world, for every viewer who has encountered Jesus through The Chosen, and for every heart that will break when they see him suffer. The crucifixion will not be easy to watch. Jonathan knows that. He's already heard from fans who are dreading it. People who have wept through previous seasons are now preparing themselves emotionally for the horror of the cross. And it's not just the nails or the blood that will hurt the most. It's the look on Jesus' face. It's the way Jonathan will show us his final words, his last breath, his cry of, my God, why have you forsaken me?" That moment will haunt us. It's supposed to. And Jonathan knows that. He's preparing not just to act, but to surrender, to become a vessel through which that sacred moment can pierce our hearts. There's something incredibly humble about how Jonathan approaches all of this. He doesn't act like a celebrity. He doesn't brag about the role. In fact, he often says he feels unworthy. But maybe that's exactly why he was chosen, because it takes someone who trembles at the weight of the story to carry it with reverence. It takes someone who's willing to break to help the rest of us feel the pain, the beauty, and the love in that cross. As he said in one interview, none of us is truly worthy. And yet here he is, breaking himself open so that we might see Jesus more clearly. As Season 6 of The Chosen slowly comes into focus, the weight of what's coming is not just being felt by Jonathan or the cast, it's being felt by the global audience. Millions of fans who have journeyed with Jesus since Season 1 are now bracing themselves for the moment they hoped would never arrive, the crucifixion. From the beginning, This show has built a deep emotional bond between viewers and the characters. We don't just watch Jesus perform miracles or speak in parables. We feel his compassion, his exhaustion, his joy, and his heartbreak. And now we are being asked to follow him into the darkest chapter of his earthly life. The production is already teasing what's ahead, and every tiny glimpse, every behind-the-scenes moment shared, feels like a heavy step closer to the cross. Delshen's social media post showing early shots of the crucifixion set sent shockwaves through the fandom. It's real, it's happening, and nothing will ever be the same. For those who have loved this series from the start, the announcement that Season 6 will be split into 2 parts only intensifies the anticipation. The first 6 episodes are expected toward the end of 2026, setting the stage for what will be an unforgettable final installment. But it's the final episode, the one that's going to hit theaters around Easter 2027, that has everyone holding their breath. Dallas Jenkins has already confirmed that this finale will feel more like a full-length film than a TV episode. And honestly, that makes perfect sense. The crucifixion is not just another scene. It's the climax of everything we've witnessed so far. The love, the betrayal, the miracles, the moments of quiet teaching, they all lead here. And the decision to bring it to the big screen means one thing: we're going to feel it in our bones. Watching the crucifixion on a theater screen with surround sound, a packed crowd, and utter silence filling the room, that's going to be a spiritual experience. Dallas and the entire team know they're treading on holy ground. They're not trying to impress anyone with flashy visuals or shocking gore. They're trying to take us there, to the hill outside Jerusalem, where love and pain collided in the most powerful act of sacrifice the world has ever known, and they want us to sit with it, not rush past it, not look away, but sit in that grief, because only then can we truly understand what it cost. In the meantime, we will be getting glimpses, short interviews, behind-the-scenes clips, and cast reflections. But no matter how many previews we see, nothing will prepare us for the moment when we actually watch Jesus fall to the ground carrying the cross. Nothing will prepare us for the sound of the hammer hitting the nails. And nothing, absolutely nothing, will prepare us for the silence after he breathes his last. Jonathan has already said it will be hard for him to get through, but he also knows it will be harder for us to watch. And yet, we must. Because the crucifixion is not just a scene, it's the reason for everything. Fans have already started sharing their fears online. Many have said they're not ready. Some have even confessed that they don't know if they can watch it. But Jonathan and Dallas both understand this emotional resistance. They've talked about it in interviews. And they've made it clear. They aren't trying to traumatize us. They're trying to tell the truth about what Jesus endured, the truth about why he chose the cross, the truth about love. And that truth is not clean. It's not comfortable. It hurts. It breaks us. And yet, it heals. Even among the other scenes in Season 6, the emotional toll will be heavy. The denial of Peter, the agony in Gethsemane, the false trial before Pilate, the scourging, all of these will test our hearts in ways we're not ready for. But that's why this show has mattered so deeply from the start, because it doesn't sugarcoat the gospel. It doesn't rush past the tears. It lets us feel every drop of pain, every beat of silence, every trembling hand that reached out in faith. And now, as Jesus walks toward his death, we walk with him, one painful step at a time. There's a quiet kind of beauty in how the show has been structured. The first few seasons gave us joy, growth, friendship, and faith. But as we moved into Seasons 4 and 5, the tension started to rise. Jesus began speaking more about his coming death. The disciples felt the shift, and so did we. Now in Season 6, everything breaks open. The betrayal, the arrest, the abandonment. It's no longer just about faith. It's about suffering, and how through that suffering salvation is born. For those who have been spiritually impacted by The Chosen, this season will be deeply personal. There are people who have come back to faith through this show, people who have cried out to Jesus again after years of silence, people who have fallen on their knees in front of a screen feeling like Jesus was speaking directly to them. And now those same people must watch the one they've come to love, respect, and follow be brutally killed. It's going to shatter us. But in that breaking, something new will be born. Jonathan knows this. He feels the weight of your tears, your prayers, your fears. And that's why he keeps going. Not because it's easy, but because he believes in what this story can do. He knows there's someone out there who's going to watch Jesus die and suddenly understand, for the first time, what that sacrifice really meant. And if even one person is changed by that moment, then all of Jonathan's pain, all the emotional strain, all the physical exhaustion, it will have been worth it. We still have time before the first episodes of Season 6 arrive, and even more time before the finale hits theaters. But that time will pass quickly. And as it does, I hope we all take a moment to prepare our hearts. This won't be a season we binge watch casually. This will be a season we carry with us, a season we pray through, a season we remember. And when the lights go down in that theater and Jesus takes his final breath, may we not just be moved, but transformed. But even in the shadow of the cross, even in the overwhelming grief of Jesus' final breath, there is a flicker of hope that refuses to die. The silence after the crucifixion will be deafening. The disciples will be scattered. Mary will be crushed. And for a moment it will feel like evil has won. That's what the world saw when Jesus was buried. A quiet, defeated end. But we, the audience, know something they don't. We know what's coming. We know that this story is not finished. And The Chosen isn't finished either. Because after the cross comes the empty tomb. Dallas Jenkins has confirmed that The Chosen will end with Season 7. That means there's still one more chapter to tell. And while Season 6 will break us wide open, Season 7 promises to begin the healing. But not in a neat, clean way. No, the show will take its time with the aftermath. The grief of the disciples won't just vanish in a moment. The fear, the shame, the regret, they will all linger. Peter will be haunted by his denial. John will carry the weight of watching Jesus die. Thomas, Andrew, Matthew, each one will face the crushing silence of Saturday before they ever hear the good news of Sunday. And yet that silence is where the seeds of resurrection are planted. In Season 7, we will watch the impossible unfold. Jesus will rise. The tomb will be found empty. Mary Magdalene will be the first to see him. And the broken, terrified followers who once fled in fear will begin to find their courage again. Not because they understand everything, not because the pain goes away, but because love refuses to stay dead. Imagine the moment Peter runs to the tomb, desperate for a second chance. Imagine Thomas staring into the eyes of the risen Christ, his doubt dissolving into worship. Imagine Jesus breaking bread with them again, not in power, but in peace. These are not just plot points. They are emotional lifelines. And The Chosen will make us feel every beat of that restoration. But Season 7 won't just be a celebration, it will be a season of commissioning. Because after the resurrection comes the mission Jesus won't stay. He will appear to them, comfort them, teach them. But then he will ascend. And he will leave this fragile group of former fishermen, tax collectors, zealots, and women to carry his message to the ends of the earth. That's the heartbeat of the final season. Not just that Jesus rose, but that he trusted them to carry his light forward. And if you've watched these characters grow from broken outcasts into brave disciples, then you know how much that trust costs. They will still stumble. They will still grieve, but they will go because they saw him and because love compels them. Dallas has hinted that the final moments of the entire series, Season 7's closing scenes, will leave viewers in tears, and not just because of sadness, but because of the deep, overwhelming beauty of what Jesus started, and how it continues even now. There may be scenes of Pentecost, there may be hints of what lies ahead for Peter, for John, for Mary. We may see the disciples walk boldly into danger knowing that suffering now has meaning. We may even see Jesus' final words echo across time, "Go therefore," and make disciples of all nations. These are not just verses, they're the living legacy of a Savior who rose from the dead and changed everything. And for us, the audience, it will be a mirror. Because we are not just watching history, we are being invited into it. That same risen Jesus calls to us. That same mission is still ours. And that's what makes The Chosen different from every other show on television. It doesn't end when the credits roll. It lingers, it transforms, it calls us to more. So as we prepare for the heartbreak of Season 6, let us also hold tightly to the hope of Season 7. Yes, the cross is real. The pain is real. But so is the resurrection. So is the joy. So is the victory. And just like the disciples, we will walk through the valley of death only to find that love has already gone before us. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe our channel for more update.